Something's fishy.
Hey guys, I'm SharkZone, and in today's video I'll be giving you a Season 9 advanced guide to Pantheon, the Artisan of War. Pantheon is one of the strongest early game lane bullies who's pretty much able to win all lanes versus any early game champ, even if they're assassins, bruisers, or mages. He has one of the highest first blood rates in the game because of his infamous poke level 1 with Q, then all in with level 2 with W and Ignite. I also want to mention that Pantheon can crit with his Q or auto when the enemy is really low, which sets you up for really good strong duels early. He almost doesn't have any weak lane and is able to shut down even the strongest early game lane bullies like Teemo. You can play him top or mid and it really comes down to preference, but in my opinion, I find him stronger mid because he is able to roam with his ult better, and it is pretty much a guaranteed winning lane versus common mid laners like Fizz, Zed, or Talon. The really only bad side of playing Pantheon is that he falls off tremendously past the 25-minute mark because he is terrible at team fighting, with him not having a lot of CC and not being a pure tank or damage champ. His base damage falls off and he's not able to one-shot people with his combo like he did in the early game. Generally, if you fall behind in the early game, you won't be able to come back because of the fact that you will deal no damage. So now let's talk about Pantheon's abilities. Pantheon's passive makes it so that every 4 autos or ability he uses, he is able to gain a shield which blocks the enemy's auto attack or tower shot. That can be useful for all-ins under tower or long duels where it can come in handy when you both are at low HPs in the end. Pantheon's Q is a basic spear ability that is a point and click which deals damage to the enemy target. Pantheon's W is a point and click stun which automatically activates his shield passive. Pantheon's E is an ability where he shoots out spears in a small cone in front of him, dealing damage. Finally, Pantheon's ultimate ability is where you are able to roam in a small radius on the map that is quite comparable to Twisted Fate, and when you crash down, it deals a good amount of AP damage. The summoner spells you always take is Flash and Ignite, even in higher elos, because you are relying on that early game lead to win you the game. Teleport isn't the worst option in the world because technically you do have enough damage early to secure kills, it's just Ignite gives you more comfort. It's not like Pantheon is a split pusher, which is why teleport won't even help you late game because your ult pretty much acts as one. So now let's talk about Pantheon's runes. So on Pantheon there's 3 keystone pages that are all viable, which is Aftershock, Conqueror, or Electrocute. What's being used the most in rank right now is Conqueror, and after testing it, it's as good as Electrocute. So basically, if you take Conqueror, after you land 5 Qs or attacks in lane, you'll start to deal 10% of true damage, and it will start to heal you for that amount. This is especially good in longer trades, and you do not have to just rely on your straight burst. Electrocute, as we know, is a solid option because it provides tons of extra damage early unless you set up cheesy plays. Aftershock is used as of right now in the mid lane challenger because it lets you become really tanky once you stun your enemy with your W, and it can save you from assassins or mages burst. Your skill max order on Pantheon is RQEW because R being your most powerful roaming ability, Q being your most damaging poke ability, E being your second most damaging ability, and W because you really are only using it as a stun on your enemy. So when it comes to Pantheon's combos, they are really simple because of how the champion is designed, and they are very self-explanatory. In lane, all you're really doing is poking them out with your Q and walking away trying to set up for an all-in. When they are around 50 HP and in crit range, you want to do your all-in combo, which is W, auto, Q, E, ignite, and that will usually finish them off. When you're roaming with your ultimate to bot lane, for example, use your RW, auto, Q, E combo, which will usually one-shot the enemy squishy target or ADC. There really isn't a ton of mechanically skilled things to do on Pantheon, and when it really comes down to it, if you want to climb on Pantheon, it comes down to good macro. How you roam with your ultimate ability is really what separates a silver Pantheon player from a diamond one. It comes down to if you are able to be at the right place at the right time. So on Pantheon, as usual, you always want to get level 2 first, and at the same time be poking your enemy target with your Q as much as possible. Note that pretty much nobody can beat you at level 2 if you play your level 1 correctly by putting them at around 60% HP. In the higher ranks, of course, they will respect your damage a bit more, but it's either they lose their HP or lose XP early. Once you hit level 2 or 3, this is where you want to set up all-ins once you take them down to around 50 HP. Do the W, auto, Q, E, ignite combo, and that will almost always end up killing them. You really do want to be careful of ganks when you're playing Pantheon because your playstyle is pretty much always aggressive, and with you having no wards, you will almost always end up dying with no mobility. Try putting deep wards early so that way you can spot the enemy jungler coming towards your lane, but once you have a big enough lead, it's pretty much easy to 1v2 the enemy laner and jungler. Once you are able to 1v2 the enemy jungler and laner, then it pretty much should be an easy game if you are able to shot call correctly and take all objectives as possible. When you are playing Pantheon, the enemy has no choice but to back when they are low, because when you are ahead, you can poke them under tower and even all in them with your passive. Tell your team to take drag or rift while you split push and take towers. With your lead, every time you have your ultimate, try to either go mid, bot, or top and push the lead further into other lanes. Pantheon has has one of the highest win rates with games that end by the 20-minute mark because of how well he is able to stomp during that period. So now let's talk about Pantheon's team fighting. Pantheon's team fighting is so unique because he could play it two ways, either aggressively trying to stun and kill the enemy marksman or peel for his own with his W. Honestly, it really depends on how ahead you are and if you are able to kill them or not, but if you can't kill the enemy marksman because you get kited or whatever reason that may be, just peel for your own carries. If you want to play aggressive on Pantheon, the best way to engage a fight in my opinion is to ult behind the team fight and hard engage on the ADC, our most important target. Pantheon's ult has a good amount of base damage, which will add an extra 400 damage on top of that, which makes your one shots even better. I'd also like to mention that Pantheon's Dustblade gets procced because once he falls from his ultimate, because of the invisibility, that even adds more damage for the one shot. When it comes to team fights, you could play as the Twisted Fate by split pushing, and when the team fight breaks out, you could ult in. It's cheesy, but if it works, you can gain a huge lead, and it's by split pushing till one of the enemy members comes, then ult in, engaging a team fight mid, knowing that it will be a 4v5. So for your matchups, the really bad ones that you have, still winnable in your favor, are the ones that can duel you early on, like Aatrox, or poke you out from a long distance like Ezreal. You should always be able to poke them out level 1 and all in them level 2 and 3. Pantheon almost counters every single melee champ in lane because of how he can abuse them with his poke and damage early on and gain a lead, then zone them from all minions in lane. Finally, the items you build on Pantheon is heavy lethality early, then bruisery items like Death Dance or Black Cleaver. You could either rush Dustblade or Ghostblade first item, but you always want to start Corrupting Potion because of how much mana you use with your Q, and if they trade back with you, you have something to heal yourself with. You could go Longsword if you are greedy, but honestly Pantheon has enough damage with Corrupting, and it's better to just play it safe. If you fall really behind, you need to go tanky even though you rely on damage for your lead, because if you get one shot every team fight with you absolutely dealing no damage, then you are actually useless. After Ghostblade and Dustblade, getting Black Cleaver, Death Dance, or Stark's Gauge are all great options because they deal damage with tankiness. Guardian's Angel or Spirit Trojans will help later on in the game, but early on you just want to focus on raw damage. Your boots of choice can honestly be Moby, Ninja Tabi, or Merc Treads, and there's really no best option, but situational. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please smash the like button because it really meant a lot. Comment what you want to see next, and subscribe to see more like this in the future. If you haven't, make sure to follow me on Twitch.tv where you can watch some of these videos live. I'm Shark Zone, here with another video, and I'm out. Peace.